Okay, let's get started. Welcome everybody to this webinar with Quuppa alongside Symbiote by HB Revis. This webinar is about how technology can help us build trust as we get back to the office. My name is Jesse Parnanen, or Jesse, and I'm the marketing designer here at Quuppa. I will be facilitating this discussion. Just a quick bit of housekeeping. If you have any questions during the webinar at all, in the GoToWebinar application, there is a questions tab where you can ask questions, and we will have a Q&A at the end of this session where we will go through all of those questions, or as many as possible. Let's see how it goes. Also on the line with me, I have Antti Rahikka, who is the sales director for the MEA region, or Middle East and Africa region here at Quuppa. And then I also have Thomas Melisko, who's the head of Symbiote, which is the digital workspace by HB Revis. So let's get into it. I'll just run through our agenda before I hand it over to Antti. I'm just going to give you a brief introduction, and then Antti will go through the Quuppa technology to give you a better understanding of exactly what Quuppa does as a company. We're going to have a look at some new needs to secure well-being and health at the office, obviously because of this coronavirus pandemic, and that's affected the world globally. We'll have a look at Symbiote's solution for smart buildings, followed by a case study, and then a Q&A, depending on the timing. So if we move forward, Antti, are you on the line?
I'm on the line. Can you hear me loud and clear?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, greetings from Dubai. My name is Antti Rahikka. I'm the sales director here at Quuppa for Middle East and Africa region, as Jesse told. I believe you are eager to hear from Symbiote about the business benefits and the system itself. But before that, let's take a look at Quuppa and a little bit about the Quuppa technology. So Quuppa was founded in 2012. It was a spin-off from Nokia Research Center. It seems that half of the Finnish companies were at some point part of Nokia. The technology was developed within Nokia already since 2005, so the technology is very mature. And unlike many players in the RTLS field, we are not a startup. We have delivered more than 2,000 systems globally through and together with our partner network. And naturally, we have offices around the world also to serve our partners and customers. Headquarters is in Espoo, Finland. And it's a very beautiful place next to the lakes and sea, so come and check us there. Earlier this year and late last year, Quuppa has achieved quite a bit. So Gartner put us in a visionary portion of their analysis when it comes to indoor location services. We are proud to be there. We have very much of this innovative spirit in the company. We also cooperate with multiple silicon vendors. Yes, next slide, please. So how the system actually works. Quuppa technology allows accurate and real-time tracking of different objects. These objects can be people or assets. And as a consequence of this knowledge of the locations, we can answer questions such as who, where, and when. And as we can see along the presentation of Symbiote, it is increasingly important to also understand for how long objects were in contact. We can reach sub-meter accuracy, and that gives us quite a unique knowledge about the whereabouts of all the objects, and it is increasingly important so that we can analyze the data afterwards and facilitate the safe return to offices. What the system is based on. Here at the upper part of this diagram, you can see locators. That's the hardware component that is installed into an office building, as an example. And that locator can determine two angles. the elevation angle and azimuth angle of the signal. Based on that information and a number of locators, we can get the position of these objects, what we want to track. Also, our technology is real time, so we don't have to wait for the results of that location calculation for a long time. We can even use this in the sports, where we can update the location up to 100 times per second. So we are using angle of arrival or direction finding technology to determine the location, and as a radio path we use Bluetooth low energy. Bluetooth is known for everyone. Bluetooth low energy is a kind of a subversion, which is very widely used radio technology. Because it's widely used, we can give scale benefits to our customers and partners. The tags are cheap, those are small, can be down to a coin size. If anyone still remembers how a coin looks like, everyone is using a card, and our tag can also look like a credit card or access card. BLE, the name says, it's a low energy device, so the tag uses very little battery, which means that we can use it for multiple years without any need of maintenance or recharge. Also, thanks to BLE, we can track the phones, so there is not necessarily need for a separate tag infrastructure, but we can use the mobile phones as tags, which is increasingly important in some of the applications. The system is very open for integrations. Of course, Symbiote has done integration to their system, as well as we have a good software tools for designing the system and testing the system. We are happy to answer the questions later, but now I will hand over to Mr. Thomas of Symbiote, so he can answer your questions and he can give you a presentation about the real topic today, which is how we can safely return to those loved offices of ours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Antti, for the introduction. And greetings everyone from Slovakia, from Bratislava, which is our HQ office at Symbiote by HB Reavis. As Antti said, I would like to give a little bit of introduction who we are as a company and those 2 years that we worked with Quuppa. And I think there's a lot of connections that we have between our two companies, and especially trying to look at how to harvest technology to make really valuable use cases for our customers. And then in the second part, I would like to show you a live demo. So hopefully the power of strong internet will be with me today, and we can actually look at those live data use cases that we are analyzing in our team. So Symbiote has been created as a corporate venture by HB Reavis, which is one of our large and leading international workspace providers in Europe. And I think this is very important, that we're coming from this real estate background, and we were not started maybe by an IT company, but by a real estate company as an IT division. And actually that gives us quite a close proximity to the needs of people at workplace. And currently our company is actually creating 5 out of 10 largest office schemes in Europe. So these are large urban campuses, and I think the fact that we can actually test a lot of our technologies within these beautiful buildings and projects allows us to have really a good understanding of the changing needs at workplace. And we really see that the offices of future will definitely need to tackle a lot of challenges, as we all know these days, to really make them safe and healthy for people to not be afraid to come to them and work and collaborate. But also with the changing nature of work, the office buildings in the future will be more like connection hubs where people will be coming to do high added value work, thinking work, and a lot of collaboration. So this is where Symbiote is looking at. And we are a tech and sensory platform. We integrate any sensor data that really makes sense for us, be that indoor positioning, environmental data. but actually our mission is to really create very engaging user interfaces. So we are connecting the end user with the building, and we're trying to really make those lives of people better. And on typical non-COVID days, we would spend 2,000 hours per year in an office building. So really our mission is to make the life of people more productive and healthier. We have 4 product lines. Virtual workspace, where we connect a lot of this data into a very engaging user platform. May that be on digital signage, like you would have in a shopping mall. So we bring those digital signages into the office, but also a mobile app. We analyze all the data in our data lake, and our workplace specialists and data scientists are looking at actually making sense between correlations of different data, like are people likely to work outside or inside, depending on weather conditions? How do CO2 data correlate with mental performance? How people actually use the building on different days of the week? So we're trying to figure out all those patterns from those data points collected. We also have a product called Space Experience, where we connected our system to BMS, which is Building Management System, and we are actually able to control light, shading, temperature from mobile phones or tablets with virtually any BMS system, as long as it's connected through MQTT protocol. And finally, we have a product which is looking at helping people to seamlessly move through the building, which is very relevant these days. So touch-free movement, be that mobile phone access, QR codes, or face recognition integrations. For the sake of today's webinar, I will mainly focus on the virtual workspace and looking at indoor positioning data and use cases that we have deployed, but also analytics based on those data points. And especially these days, we get a lot of requests from customers asking us how can they harvest technologies to make people more safe and at ease to come back to the office. And we identified kind of 4 areas. So really being very transparent about the data from the workspace, so that you can make your choice whether it's safe for you to come to the office or you should rather stay at home. So that's about really projecting the data on density and the levels of CO2. We also have a case where we were able to identify a movement of a person that was COVID positive using indoor positioning technology, and we can talk about that a little bit later. But it's really about also flexibility. So, is there going to be a need for more workspace, less workspace? So these are the questions our clients are asking us, and we think with the right technology, actually we can create more flexibility. So actually to be able to better adapt for the needs of the future workspaces. And how do we know that these things actually make sense? We're doing a lot of research, and we picked just one. This is from a recent survey of PwC asking almost 900 CFOs where are they investing their money in terms of upgrading their workplaces. And the first 2 kind of positions were really about safety measures, masks, but also physical distancing. So really making sure they don't have too many people in the office. But also, interestingly, almost a quarter of them said that they would be looking at some kind of location tracking and contact tracing in their offices. So this is maybe a new emerging need that CFOs would be also willing to invest into. So this is quite promising data. So we see 2 phases in terms of the COVID response. The first is really just making sure that people feel safe to come back to the office. And what we are doing is we are measuring workplace density, either using indoor positioning data, so making sure there is not too many badges or mobile phones in the area. Also, we are looking at CCTV analytics. All the buildings have cameras, so we can put a software on top of those and actually analyze how many people are in and out of the building. So really, this is to make sure that you don't exceed a certain safe density of your space. We are then looking at environmental aspects, so CO2, that's highly correlated to how much fresh air there is in a meeting room. And basically we have now sensors that can look at in real time whether CO2 is not increasing past a certain threshold. And if it is, then we are notifying people in those meeting rooms, or we are providing that data available on mobile phone or dashboard. So this is another very important use case. Cleaning, yeah, obviously, so we can monitor when was the last time certain areas have been cleaned, or actually dispatch cleaning services based on how many people used, for example, bathroom facilities. So again, quite low-hanging fruit, but with the right technology, you can definitely bring that value to end users. And finally, contact tracing. So, for example, in our company, we had a case where there was an employee that came to the office, but later on, 2 days later, found out that the person was positive with COVID. And GDPR in pandemic times allows you to look at those data of a movement of a person if that's used in order to protect health and well-being and safety of people. And we were able to identify zones and people that were potentially exposed. And actually, we sent several dozens of people for preventive testing, and luckily there was no positive cases out of that. But this is where technology helped us to actually make sure that our offices are really up and running on a high level of safety. And then in the second phase, it's about the question about what do we do with all the offices and all the real estate. And we think that office buildings should be about, making sure that when you come to them, you have really the right spaces and equipment for you to collaborate with people. We think that physical interactions are very important in order for people to create new ideas, to share ideas. I mean, we all are working past weeks and months online, but we really see the added benefit when you actually come to the office and you can connect with different teams and departments. So we're able to analyze this data, also using indoor positioning technology, and bring insights to our customers on where the value is created for their departments. We're looking at, of course, the answer, how much space do our customers need? So that's about analyzing how different spaces are used. And then we're actually using the data with a end user. So we have an app which allows you to see your own network and also how much time you're spending in meetings and focus time. So this is about really educating the end users and really connecting them with the building. And I would then just tell you a little bit about the case study, which I'll present, so a little bit of background. HB Reavis is an international company. We have 800 people, 400 of them are based in Bratislava. And this was our old HQ where we were 2 years ago. And the challenge was that we had 2 parts of the building and connected with a bridge. And then we were on a couple different floors. And you can imagine the collaboration, which is very important for our company, has been quite challenging with people scattered around to different parts of the building. So we decided to move them into our project called Twin City in Bratislava. And we ended up actually taking less space. And we ended up being on single floor with 440 people. But we actually used technology to help us to figure out which departments should sit next to which departments based on the value creation process that is important for our company in the process of creating those nice buildings. And we invested into a lot of these activity-based setups, so a lot of collaboration areas, of course, good coffee being involved, and of course, a lot of community spaces and community events where actually people can come and interact. We also did an investment into active design. So there's a staircase taking you all the way from the ground level up to our spaces. So you don't need to actually use those elevators, and different spaces for active movement, which is very important in terms of healthy well-being at the office. So the challenge was basically, how do we make those 25 different spaces work? We have more than 25 different departments as well. So actually, we decided to invest into Quuppa technology, which is collecting over 1.5 million data points per day. And we're analyzing those in order to create a Symbiote product also, which we are then deploying to our customers. So our office is a living lab, and we are then using that insight to produce our products for our customers. So let me now jump into the live data presentation. So hopefully I can now start to share my desktop. I think someone needs to make me, all right. Yeah. All right, hopefully you can see my screen now. So what you're looking at here is a real-time people count updated 4 minutes ago. In case you don't see it, just please someone shout out, but hopefully I'm using technology in the right way. So there's 77 people currently in our office. This data is coming from counting all the tags that are moving in and out of the office. And the COVID capacity is limited to 120, but we can see that we are quite okay. We're also monitoring which spaces have the highest CO2. So there is quite high CO2 in one of the meeting rooms, and people are notified on a tablet in that room too, and we advise them to change that space. But this data is available to anyone on the website. People can actually check it from home and decide, whether it's safe for them to come to the office based on the density. So we are very open about that data being actually available to our employees in real time. So this is kind of the first product that we can easily deploy at our customer sites. Let me now jump to 3D model. So hopefully shortly you'll be able to see an interactive live 3D model that we built of our. Perfect. There might be a slight delay of a couple seconds, so I'll try to basically move slowly. So people can come to the 3D model and interact with it on digital signage. So the digital signages are placed around the office. So you can zoom in and interact with it. It's very interactive, but the biggest advantage here is that we can actually connect different data points. So on the bottom, you see different things people can actually explore with the model. They can check which areas have higher or lower temperature. So you can actually find the ideal space based on your personal temperature preference. And also CO2 being very important. So this is, again, live view of the CO2 readings, and this is the one meeting room where we had an issue with CO2, but I'm happy to see many greens, which means there is a lot of fresh air, and there might be always some spaces that have an issue, but we want our end users to know about it and potentially find a bigger meeting room for their meeting. Let me now demonstrate how we work with Quuppa technology. So we can look at real-time occupancy data from the office. Hopefully it will come in a couple of seconds. I've tested the technology, always a bit of demo effect. Hopefully the internet connection will be quite quick to pick it up. Let's give it a couple of seconds, otherwise I can always show you on a picture, but it's always better to see the data in real time. Let's give it a couple seconds. Okay, here we are. So you see the orange dots. Basically, this is live position of badges. So our employees wear badges where we have an active Quuppa chip, and Quuppa infrastructure is picking up the movement of those dots in real time. Everything is GDPR compliant. You can see only those dots of people that gave us the consent to be found in real time. And for example, one very popular use case is being able to find your colleague. So since I gave the consent, I can be found in the system. So I just located myself and I can now move around, and hopefully the system will be quickly responding to that. So I can see the dot moving on my screen, but it seems like there is a little bit of lag with the interface. So it's moving slowly, but we are at 0.7 meter accuracy with Quuppa technology, and we are collecting a couple data points every second. So we are actually very reliable in terms of collecting all those data points. And really we achieved around 70 centimeters of accuracy in real time, which is amazing. It allows us to do actually a lot of analytical use cases. Let me demonstrate those in a second. So let me just go back to our Power BI interface. So what we are looking at is actually understanding different work styles of people. So we're looking at, what type of spaces do accountants need? And this is data from our accounting department, where we know that they spend 85% of their time at their desks. So this means that we are really focusing on making sure the temperature, the desk settings, the ergonomics of their spaces are really perfectly aligned, compared to senior managers who are actually spending several hours per day in meeting rooms. Especially in COVID times, we are trying to educate them not to have too many large meetings and also kind of sanitize their hands more frequently because they are more exposed to different workspaces throughout the day. What we are also looking at is how our people interact. So we're looking at how long the meetings are. And we set kind of a KPI for this May and June period, not to have too large meetings. And I'm happy to see that actually all of our meetings that happened so far, since we returned to the office in last 2 weeks, were actually maximum 4 people, but majority of them were meetings up to 2 people. Yeah, so, and also they are not very long. So majority of the meetings are actually less than 1 hour, and most of them are less than 1.5 hours. So this is also a very good indication for us that people are really kind of being responsible and looking into health and safety and protecting themselves and colleagues. So with this kind of data, what we can now do is even motivate people to come back to the office in a faster pace, because we see that people are actually behaving in a very responsible way. And also what we are looking at is helping our clients to analyze the data from indoor positioning and understand how connected their organizations are. So what you see on this interconnectivity chart is basically look at our organization. We have roughly 25 departments, and you can see how connected different departments are. So the most connected department for us is development management. So these are people running different projects. So they are really highly connected, and they should be highly connected, because every disconnect from an important organization or part of the organization like product design could potentially cause lots of delays on the project, or even millions being lost by misalignment of development needs and product design. So what we do is we educate these managers to look at this data very openly. They can see their own team interactions and department data, and they can actually set their own KPIs with which departments they need to be more connected. And in case there is a discrepancy, they would the whole team would know that a certain interaction is being lost, and they can pick it up. And of course, we are able to overlay that physical interactions, so number of meeting hours people spend together in meeting rooms, with digital interactions. So the volume of emails being exchanged, which is of course the main source of collaboration these days, but in real time, we would like to see more FaceTime, quick, agile alignments, rather than a lot of emails and large meetings, which tend to be unproductive. So we are very actively looking at this data. Our workplace consultants are then using this knowledge to also advise our clients on how to use this technology and actually implement the routines. So it's all about data being interpreted in the right way, but then also being able to define the so what, where we need the involvement of company leadership, HR, but also team leaders and team managers themselves. So I think with that, I can stop presenting my screen.